Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a few more people coming in. We're pleased to have you here this afternoon for our City of Gainesville Fellowship Spring Information Session. We do ask that you remain muted during the presentation, that you use the chat for any questions or the raise hand feature. We will have a presentation from our City of Gainesville partners, and then at the end we'll hear from 3 of our fellows, and then you'll have a chance to ask any questions of your own. To start us off, just a few Zoom housekeeping pieces I covered already. You can find us in the chat if you have any questions. We'll go through an overview of the program, the application process, and then Q&A. And right now I'd like to hand it over to the Bob Graham Center for Public Service Director, Dr. Matt Jacobs.
Thanks, Mary Ann, and thanks everyone for joining us, and thank you to our partners with the City of Gainesville on this as well. I just want to take a couple of quick, make a couple of quick points about the position of the Gainesville City Fellowship in the Graham Center and some of our fundamental principles behind this and some of our other initiatives. At the Graham Center, we are committed to promoting amongst our students the principles and mindsets that are necessary for effective civic engagement, public leadership, and public service. And we do that through a lot of experiential learning initiatives, from research to professional development to internships and those sorts of things as well. And the Gainesville City Fellowship is something that we've developed over the last few years, and that continues to grow and has really become a critical part of our experiential learning opportunities. I believe there are up to 13 possible placements this year, and you'll get more information on those over the course of the presentation. But this opportunity as a year-long fellowship really does give you the chance to become immersed in the operations of local government and to have some really meaningful opportunities to learn, to be engaged with public policy, and to help around your community here in Gainesville. And so those are some central components to it as well. We're thrilled to have you here. We hope that you will engage in the center in some other ways as well, and there are lots of opportunities to do so. And we look forward to working with all of you going forward. I'm going to turn over to Brandie Stone, who is a civic collaboration specialist and our primary partner here in the city in helping to put this on. She works with the City of Gainesville, and so she and others will work with you through the rest of the presentation. Brandie?
Great. Thank you, Dr. Jacobs. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. As Dr. Jacobs mentioned, my name is Brandie Stone, and I'm the Civic Collaboration Specialist with the City of Gainesville. And in my role, I work with partnerships and collaboration in the division, the department, excuse me, of strategy, planning, and innovation. Our division works to foster partnerships internally at the city as well as externally in the community to address complex needs. And currently, I'm assisting with the coordination of the fellowship program, which is a great example of one of those community-based partnerships between our academic institutions here in Gainesville and the city. So I wanted to pause and just let my other colleagues from the city introduce themselves as well. So if I see Morgan first, so Morgan, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. I am Morgan Spicer. I am the Interim Policy Oversight Administrator for the city. So I work in the city clerk's office, and I oversee the city's policy program and our policy research program. So I work specifically with the Policy Research Fellows as part of this fellowship. And so I will note, I was a fellow when I was a student at UF. And so I kind of have a unique experience where I was a fellow, I went through this program, and then I now oversee that fellowship. So really excited to work with our new group of students. And I'm looking forward to meeting you all today.
Awesome. Thanks, Morgan. And I believe Carissa is on as well. Carissa, would you like to introduce yourself?
I would love to. Give me 1 second to find my video. And I apologize, my toddler is in the background. But hello, everyone. My name is Carissa Raskin. I am the Civic Collaboration Supervisor for the City of Gainesville. I've had the pleasure of working with the fellowship program since my start at the city, and actually even previous when I was a student at the university as well. Not as a fellow myself, but some of my fellow students were applying for the position. And we've seen it grow over the years. It used to just be one office, and now we have 3. And we're really excited. And we've always had a really, really positive experience working with the students that engage in the fellowship program. And we've even gone on, as Morgan is a great example, to bring some of the fellows on as full-time employees over time. So we really see this as a mutually beneficial opportunity. The city gains a lot from the students that participate, but the students also gain a lot as well. So we're excited that you took the time today, and hope that we're able to answer any questions that you might have. Thanks, Brandie.
Awesome. Thanks, Carissa. And lastly, Assistant Chief Sutton, would you like to take a second to introduce yourself?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Assistant Chief David Sutton. I work with Gainesville Fire Rescue. Really grateful and excited to be part of this opportunity. We've gotten a lot of important things done with the help of UF interns, and I'm excited for this opportunity to work with the fellows that might step forward and assist the fire department.
Wonderful. Thank you all for taking a minute to introduce yourselves. To get us started, I'll go ahead and share a little bit of an overview of the fellowship. So as I mentioned, this is a partnership between the city and UF that started in 2017 as a way to improve community engagement between our institutions. And as of last year, the partnership also has expanded to include Santa Fe College as well. So the fellowship lasts for the duration of the academic year, starting in mid to late August and finishing in late April. Our city fellows are paid the city's 2022 living wage, which is $15 per hour. And our fellows work from about 15 to no more than 20 hours per week. This year, as Dr. Jacobs mentioned, the city has up to 12 or 13 fellowship positions available within the 3 departments. And we'll share a little bit about each of those departments and the fellowship positions here in a few minutes. But within their position, fellows are assigned a mentor within their department, and that mentor will help to provide guidance and assess progress throughout the duration of the fellowship. Much of the work that our city fellows work on throughout their year is really focused on projects that seek to meet the city's strategic goals as outlined by the city's strategic plan. And there are, as you'll see in a moment, a variety of different positions and interest areas. And so, of course, we welcome students from all majors to apply to the fellowship positions. And students applying from the UF side of things will be required to register for an internship course during both fall and spring semesters. And I'm going to turn it over to Mary Ann to share a little bit more about that.
Thanks so much, Brandie. Good afternoon, everyone. Just to let you know, we do require that you register for course credit. You can register for as little as 1 credit, as many as 3. You would arrange that course credit with me. There'll be a different instructor, but we would talk about your course load for the fall semester, how many credits you might need. And you can also do that course credit through your home department. So once selected, it would be a conversation with us. Thanks, Brandie.
Great. Thank you, Mary Ann. So in addition to the work experience and the course credit that Mary Ann just shared about, there are a number of benefits in working with local government. So in these roles, students will have an opportunity to engage with local government processes to include city commission meetings, strategic plans, things like that. Additionally, fellows are involved with real-world programs hosted by the city, such as neighbor-facing surveys and visualizing public-facing data. City staff come from a variety of backgrounds, from community development to data management to public safety and public policy. And so working as a fellow may also expose you to a career path that you had not yet considered. You will not only get to build relationships with these professional city staff, but also your fellow fellows. So there are up to 12 or 13 fellows in this cohort. And so you will have an opportunity to get to know the other fellows in your cohort as well. And this will be done through an onboarding and training session, as well as field trips throughout the academic year to various city departments to learn more about all the functions and operations of the city. Lastly, the City Fellowship will provide real-world opportunities for you to gain skills as a young professional. And this includes things like communication, organization, task management, and experience with various technological and organizational applications. So as I mentioned, there are 3 city departments hiring fellows in the 2022-2023 year. These include the Department of Strategy, Planning, or Innovation, or is like what we like to say SPY now, Gainesville Fire Rescue, and the Office of the City Clerk. So SPY is hiring a visual design fellow, which will create marketing campaigns for various projects. The UX, or User Experience Design Fellow, will conduct UX design research and participate in co-design activities. The Data Visualization Fellow will be responsible for tasks like data automation, creation of real-time interactive dashboards, and assessment of data quality. And the Community Development Fellow will be responsible for working with community-based initiatives with our partnerships and collaboration. Within Gainesville Fire Rescue, the Business Process Specialist is responsible for finding opportunities to analyze, measure, improve, and optimize business practices by using human, technological, and informational resources more efficiently. And the Marketing and Media Specialist will assist Gainesville Fire Rescue to improve both inward and outward facing branding efforts. And lastly, the Policy Research Fellows within the Office of the City Clerk will develop, research, and present policy proposals on behalf of the City Commissioners and/or the City Commission. So we'll take some time now just to share a little bit about each of our specific departments. And I will share first about the Department of Strategy, Planning, and Innovation. So this department helps to define the city's vision. We work ultimately to bring strategic projects to life. And SPI is made up of 5 divisions, including budget, civic collaboration, neighbor-centered design, strategic planning, and technology and innovation. Some initiatives from our department include the City Strategic Plan, the Open Data Portal, MyGNB, and Smart Cities, among many others. Our department works to set goals and identify how to evaluate and communicate those goals and their outcomes. Additionally, we work with our neighbors and the community to improve experiences and foster partnerships. I'll now turn it over to Assistant Chief Sutton to share a little bit more about Gainesville Fire Rescue.
Thank you. The fire department is an all hazards approach to public safety. Our mission generally follows response, prevention, education, community involvement, and outreach. So by all hazards response, we usually mean that we have a hazmat team, a tech rescue team, tactical medicine, general firefighting, emergency medicine, and airport firefighting. So much more than you would imagine if you just picture a fire truck. There's a lot of specialties that are encompassed in mid-sized to large municipal fire departments. In prevention, we have our community medicine program, which is very cutting edge. We do telemedicine. We have a recovery and addiction response program. We have a community health program and a chronic disease management program. And then we also have on the fire side, inspection and plans review. So when buildings are developments and buildings are going to be built, we have to review those plans for safety. And then buildings and businesses that already exist have to be inspected continuously to make sure they're meeting safety standards. In education and community involvement, we have our fire life safety education. That includes everything from going to the schools and teaching, basic safety measures, both in medical and fire, but also like car seats. We have, in fact, I think up until she taught a course last week, the only certified car seat technician in Alachua County. Then we have community health initiatives, which is something that has really grown, particularly since COVID began, where we do, flu shots, mobile vaccinations, a lot of health fairs, a lot of screening for, preventable diseases. We are an accredited fire department. We have 4 divisions. One is operations, which is what you see, fire trucks, going across the road. We have 12 advanced life support vehicles, which means that every frontline vehicle that we have has at least 1 paramedic on it. We have 2 airport vehicles that stay at the airport, so you never really see them. And then we have a technical rescue and hazardous materials team that is continuously staffed 24 hours a day. So the fire station on Archer Road has a hazmat truck, and they have, all sorts of extremely advanced detection equipment. We have a training division, which runs a regional fire training program for all the surrounding counties. We do EMS training and quality assurance, and then it manages our hazardous materials program because there's a lot of Homeland Security grant funding that goes into that. And then our Risk Reduction Bureau handles a lot of the inspections and the fire and life safety education. And then our Community Medicine Bureau, which I talked about before, which is newer in the last 5 years, but is really designed to address preventable health issues and reduce 911 use, and then just improve overall community health and wellness. So that's sort of the 2-minute description of the fire department.
Great. And then Morgan, if you'd love to share about the city clerk's office.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I am the policy oversight administrator. And so I work with the city clerk's office to oversee the city's policy research program. And then I work with our policy research fellows to help do that. And so our research program is essentially here to provide research support to the city commission. So when commissioners have policy ideas or questions that they're maybe interested in exploring in Gainesville, but they don't have a lot of information on, they come to our office to get more information on those topics. And so our office provides objective, high-level research to help ensure that those commissioners, but also city staff and just Gainesville neighbors have an idea of what policy we're talking about and what this issue is. And so our fellows primarily write these reports. They write reports on topics which can range very dramatically because it all depends on what the commissioners are interested in. So it can be economic policy, healthcare policy, social policy. It can also just be internal city policies. And then once those reports are written, they're very preliminary and high level. So they look at things like if there are potential legal concerns, if there are preemption issues, potential advantages and disadvantages to the policy. And then we also look at other cities or municipalities which have implemented similar policies. We are changing the structure of our fellowship a little bit. So you probably noticed that there are a lot more policy research fellowships available than the other positions. And that is because we are going to have each fellow partner with an individual commissioner with this upcoming school year to help them support kind of their individual policy priorities. And so the fellows will write reports as past fellows have done, but the fellows will also help commissioners with more preliminary research for things that are maybe not quite ready for a full report yet. Fellows might also help meet with community stakeholders so that commissioners have a better idea of how community members feel about topics. And then they'll also help with commissioners drafting resolutions. And so that's essentially what my office does and what the policy research fellows will do. We'll do policy research to essentially help commissioners formalize ideas that they're maybe interested in implementing in Gainesville, and then writing on those topics, and then potentially presenting them if the commissioners decide to move forward with those projects. And then I'll just close by echoing what was shared earlier. I think this fellowship is a really great opportunity for people who are interested in careers in local government, but also just for students who want to grow professionally, learn more about local government, and just become more connected to the city of Gainesville.
All right, and now you've heard all the details, but we have a few more chances to hear from some current fellows. We have Aubrey, who's here with us from the Department of Strategy, Planning, and Innovation, Gus, who's here with the Office of the City Clerk, and Sarah Louie, who's here with the Department of Strategy, Planning, and Innovation. Gus, Aubrey, and Sarah, I'll let each of you take a few minutes, talk about your individual experiences, and then we'll wrap this up and let the audience ask questions. Aubrey, why don't you go first?
Hey everybody. So yeah, I work with the SPI. I am the visual design fellow, so I work a lot with creating different things for the city. Like right now we're working on several different projects. We're working on a fellowship kit for upcoming fellows, so you guys might be using that. This upcoming cohort will. And then also designing things for My G&V, which is the city's, their app, where neighbors can request services from the city. And so I've worked with that a lot, creating advertisements and campaigns to kind of spread the word about that. And yeah, that's a little bit about what I've been doing at the city.
And Gus?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name's Gus. I'm a senior studying political science and history, and I'm actually graduating this semester, which is incredibly exciting. And my job as a fellow was under the policy research office under the city clerk. And basically what we did was write around 15-page reports that kind of look at the 30,000-foot view of, a lot of topics. So for example, throughout my entire fellowship, I wrote about the city budget process, tree planting, historical signs. So one day you can be assigned economic policy, the other day you can be assigned healthcare policy. So you really have to be prepared for anything, and really go into like rabbit holes of Google searches. I like to joke with Morgan that I Google for a living, which is a really funny way of kind of describing the position. And this specific position is aimed towards people, one, who like to write, two, who are really interested in policy. And it's a great way, not only for professional development, but also polishing your writing skills, your presentation skills, and more importantly, your organizational skills, because you're going to be managing a lot of projects at the same time, and you really need to learn how to manage your time specifically. So if anyone has any questions about specifically policy research, just, let me know.
And finally, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah. I am a fourth year, also senior, double majoring in African American Studies and political science. So I'll be graduating just like Gus. I am a community development fellow. So I work with Brandie and Carissa in the Department of Strategy, Planning, and Innovation. So my work entails a lot of things. As Gus was mentioning, you need to be able to manage a lot of projects all at once, have organizational skills, and most importantly, communication skills. So some of the projects that get assigned to our department can range from also doing some policy research to help with, food recovery initiatives, to working on volunteer toolkits. You do a lot of collaboration with nonprofits and community partners, as well as students from Santa Fe and students from the University of Florida, which is really great. And you have to be able to take initiative, even sometimes when it's off the clock, and make those phone calls, because everyone has different schedules. And because of my role really encounters a lot of communication and working around other people's schedules, you have to be willing to sometimes take that initiative and always communicate and take notes. I love to take notes at every single meeting that I have, because I have so many throughout the day with different community partners. And yeah, that's a little bit of what my role entails. You also get to work on your writing skills. I've gotten a lot better at email communication, making it short, effective, and straight to the point. And you also get to do research, and I really love getting to work with different community partners. So if you have any questions about my role or any projects that I've been working on or that I'm currently working on, I would love to answer them.
Thank you so much, Sarah, Gus, and Aubrey. I know our students will want to connect with you, and if it's okay with you all, I'll put your email addresses in the follow-up email we send out afterward with the presentation and recording. Just a few final points on sort of the application process and important dates you want to keep in mind, and then we can open the floor to questions from our audience. The first is that this is an online application. I will drop a link in here as soon as this is over. I'll also email it to you all. Some of you may have already completed your application. It's an online Qualtrics application. You do get a confirmation once you've submitted it. It is due this Friday by midnight. We'll draw down those applications next week, bundle that information for the city, and then they begin their review process. Interviews with the city will begin in mid-April. They will contact you directly if you receive an interview. And then offers and placements will be made in early to mid-May. We leave it so nebulous because we're not exactly sure what things will happen around graduation and whatnot, and when you all will be available. The final thing is, if you are accepted, you will register for your course during summer B. You can even register during summer A. It makes no difference to me. It's just more, I would like to know by the start of summer B what you all plan to take in the fall, so we can get that on your schedule. And then fellowships usually begin either late August or early September. They definitely start after we have begun here at UF, but you'll work on that a case-by-case basis with your supervisor. All right, Dorothy, I think we might have one more slide. Yes, okay. Then our final slide, of course, questions, contact us. Our colleagues from the city are listed here, as well as myself and Dr. Jacobs, who can also answer questions for you. And again, we'll send around the students' contact info as well. So Brandie, if you're ready, I'm ready to open the floor to any questions. Please use the chat or the raise hand feature and we'll call on you. And if there are no questions, that's okay too. Okay, Alanis Gonzalez, I believe.
Yes, correct.
Hi.
Thank you. Hi, I just had a question about what kind of experience are you looking for in applicants for the program, specifically in the areas of community development and policy research?
That's a great question, and I believe Morgan would probably answer that one.
Sure, I can answer it for the policy research, and then I think Brandie will have community development. Essentially, any background in research that you have would be great, and then writing experience. So if you don't have explicit research background, then if you've done journalism or any type of kind of, not necessarily published writing is great. But yeah, essentially research and writing is kind of the two priority areas that we would look for in a resume.
Yeah, and for the community development side of things, we would look for folks who maybe have an interest or have experience engaging with the community or community-based organizations. Someone who's has maybe experience with navigating complex questions or kind of the strategic process, and also someone who has experience and values diversity and perspectives and backgrounds. So those are some of the things that we would look for from the community development side.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Ellie, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, hi. I was wondering for the students who have been fellows, what the time commitment is like. I know it's 15 to 20 hours, but how does it feel, I guess, the time commitment, and how do you manage it personally?
It's a great question. Any of our students want to take that?
Don't
Sarah or Gus? Go ahead, Gus.
I was going to jump on. Don't leave your assignments until the last minute. That would be my main tip. The other would be, so just generally, and then I'll let Sarah and Aubrey go, is it's not bad. I would just say structure it around the days where you don't have as many classes, because you don't want to have like a 3-hour block of, I don't know, econ or whatever, and then go to the office and work on policy research. I promise you it's not the smartest idea. And then another part is you can choose your own schedule, which is you can choose what days to work on. For policy research, and this is an insider tip, is preferably leave Thursdays open, because that's when city commissions are. My Thursdays are never open, so I never got to go to city commissions, and that was on me. So just, again, look at your schedule and see what are the best days where you can work, when you can be as productive as possible. And I think that's up to everyone else.
That's a really good tip about the city commission meetings, Gus, because we here at the Graham Center too have noticed if we're doing things in the middle of the day, it's harder for the commission to attend. So very, very good tip, something we might want to include in future years, Morgan, maybe for potential interested applicants. Sarah or Aubrey, did you have anything to add to that?
Did you want to go first?
Sarah,
Okay.
you go ahead.
So to add on to what Gus was saying, I definitely agree. I learned that the hard way last semester. I had classes and I had to have classes every day. That was just my schedule. So I would only have blocks of like 2 or 3 hours each day. But then this semester, my schedule is more flexible. So now I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and longer shifts. And I love my schedule that way because I'm able to attend meetings, really effectively communicate with Brandie and Carissa. And then sometimes meetings pop up. I love being able to have that flexibility, but then on Mondays and Fridays, it's completely dedicated to my classes. So your schedule is how you make it, and it doesn't feel, Sundays can feel very laborious because you have meetings back to back to back, you're doing research, you're communicating with community partners depending on your fellowship. So I would say it's like school, like some days feel really hard and some days are like, oh, okay, I feel great.
Yeah, sorry, I muted myself. Go ahead, Aubrey.
Oh, I was just gonna say, because we haven't, at least for UF, we haven't registered for summer or fall classes yet. So like, it just depends on, like, you'll have to know your schedule yourself and know like what is required of you, like depending on what year you are, because I'm only a second year. And so, but I'm still taking quite a bit of classes. So you want to make sure that you know your limits and know how many classes you can take while also balancing, because it's a part-time job. So you want to know like how many credits you can take while also being able to balance work. So that's just my advice.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all. Sarah, would you tell everyone the department you're in again? At least one person missed it.
Yes, I am a Community Development Fellow at the Department of Strategy, Planning, and Innovation.
Right, SPY, okay. There are a few other questions in here. And then one thing I wanted to clarify on the schedules that Carissa dropped in the chat, but I remembered too from mentoring some of these students before. The city does try to work with you, but your schedules are at this discretion of the supervisor. There may just be needs they have that don't work. So you may want to consider, and this is of course something we can do in future years as well, Carissa, but you guys may want to consider when you're interviewing, being aware of your fall schedule, not finalized by any stretch of the imagination. That can certainly be a conversation if you're selected, but having some sense of what days are going to be open, what days are sort of non-negotiable for you versus definitely negotiable. Because you too may have things that you can't miss, right? You've got a senior research seminar that's always on Monday and there's just no way out of it. So that's one thing. Okay, a few questions in the chat. I'll start with Clara. Hi, Marianne. Hope Clara, I do not know if they'll be in person or online. Sorry, this was direct to me, but if students aren't in Gainesville right now, Carissa and Brandie, can they do the interviews via Zoom?
Yes, all of our interviews will actually be over Zoom. So that works perfectly.
Okay. Great. Another question, someone who's graduating this summer. We do require for this internship you to be enrolled and a degree seeking student here at UF. So unfortunately, if you're graduating this summer, we can't do this as a non-degree seeking student. These are for undergraduate opportunities. I don't know, Dr. Jacobs, if you want to add anything to that. We haven't really had this question yet.
Because we do require course credit, obviously, as part of it, and it is for active students. And so unless, certainly for the summer, somebody graduating over the summer, it'd be very difficult if there were a position that the city were comfortable with for, say, the fall term, and that somebody was graduating in December. That might be a conversation that could be had. But because they don't start until the start of the fall term, someone finishing in the summer wouldn't be able to participate, unfortunately.
Another question here from Anna Marie. For the internship, is the schedule 5 days a week, 3 to 4 hours, or is it dependent on the department? I think we've covered that. It's dependent on the department and the needs of the individual and the individual's office. But Anna Maria, apologize. If you have any other questions, do speak up and let us know. Are fall 2022 graduates eligible? I think we covered that just now. It is possible as long as you are taking course credit and the city has a placement that only needs a semester. At this time, I think these are year-round positions, but I think, Brandie, could they be in touch with you directly if they had an individualized question?
Yes, students are welcome to reach out with a specific question, but Carissa, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe all of our positions are designed to be a full year.
Okay.
Yeah, they are designed to be a full year, but with the caveat of, always reach out. It's never a bad thing to ask questions. So if you have one, we will always consider your questions. So please do reach out.
Great. Tamika asks, what kind of experience are you looking for in a student applicant in the visual design position? As a Santa Fe student, our design program is only 1.5 years long, so we haven't taken all the classes yet that are relevant to the fellowship. That's also an important caveat. These positions are available to both Santa Fe College and University of Florida students, so we had a couple Santa Fe students join us today. Carissa, do you want to answer that question? Is that for you or Brandie?
I can take it, Chris, if you want. Okay, so I think kind of in general experience with Adobe, the Creative Suite would be one of those expectations, as well as working with multiple mediums, so like social media, web print, things like that. And then also someone who is comfortable creating marketing campaigns. So those will kind of be the initial things that that the team would be looking for that position.
I'd also ask Aubrey if you have any thoughts that you want to share on that. Skills that you found to be very helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah, everything that Brandie said was definitely true. Like, it's important to have at least a basic understanding of like Adobe Creative Suite and all that, and like general like design principles. But like the point of the fellowship is that you learn. So like I've learned so much. I had some experience before because I actually worked as a graphic design intern for the Graham Center. So I was able to have a little bit of experience with like creating content for social media and for different campaigns like that. But the people in the neighbor-centered design like team, they are so helpful. John and Jackie, they know their stuff and they're willing to like give you the resources that you need to learn and develop. And they've definitely helped me in that aspect as well.
So Tamika,
Thanks,
if I can just jump back in, I would just say, when any student is applying, think about the experiences, the projects that you've worked on, the assignments that you've done, or even extracurriculars that you feel help to show your skill set in this area. As Aubrey mentioned, you know, a lot of the fellowship is about learning. And so we don't expect a student to come, you know, equipped with everything that you're going to need to know. But certainly if there are ways that you can portray and show us that you have some base level of experience to build on, that should be sufficient for your application.
Thanks, Carissa. So Tamika, I think that answers all your questions around that particular experience. I wanted to call on Stephanie now.
Hi, everyone. I just had a general question for everyone. But my main question was, what is the most memorable project you have worked on and how has that impacted the Gainesville community?
Gus, would you like to go first?
Yeah, memorable. I think my first project, which was the budget, was the most memorable, just because it's a very like steep learning curve. Like the first couple months were rough as a fellow for sure. And you learn a lot. I think you learn by, not necessarily by failure, but you learn a lot by what you could have done better and the mistakes you've made in kind of iterative process. So it's a really great learning experience, kind of being thrown into the fire and figuring it out as you go.
Aubrey or Sarah, if you want to add anything, you're welcome to, but no pressure.
So the question is like our most memorable project or like thing that we've worked on. It's kind of a hard question just because as a visual design fellow, I've had the opportunity to work on many very different projects. Like I mentioned the fellowship kit earlier, it's a really long project. We've been working on it since I think November, December. So it's been a really long process, but I think my favorite would probably have to be we're currently working on a hurricane campaign to kind of get neighbors prepared for the hurricane, and we're brainstorming different ideas for that. And we haven't fully started on creating that project, but I'm definitely excited to see how that finishes out at the end of this fellowship.
I think for me, my most memorable project to work on was with the neighborhood revitalization effort with the CDC, the Community Development Corporation and Carl Lewis. And I got to work with so many different students at UF and Santa Fe, and different professors and faculty members. For me, that was amazing because there was a lot of student capacity building and really trying to figure out a way to make the service we do for the community in terms of as students, less ephemeral and more long impacting and long lasting. And so for me, that was one of my most memorable experiences in my internship or my fellowship / internship, because I really got to work with some of the people on this call, like Sophia de la Cruz, and get closer to Brandie and Carissa because of how much work we were putting into it.
That's all amazing. Thank you so much.
And next I want to call on Sophia.
Hi, I had a question for the fellows who were on the call, and also potentially from the past fellows who you know. Have any of you felt like you've been able to make a sustainable impact on the community through this fellowship? And if so, how did you feel like you were able to do that? Or to Carissa and Marianne, did you see any past fellows who also felt like they had a strong sustainable experience or impact in Gainesville?
That is a great question, Sophia. Carissa, do you want to take that first? Or Morgan? I mean, Morgan, you were a fellow in the middle of the pandemic. Well, yeah, at the start of it.
Sure. So, I mean, I think that definitely becoming like a full-time employee with the city after being a fellow was obviously for me, I felt that was very impactful. I know several other fellows have gone on to get like their masters of public policy. Some of our research fellows have gone on to then work with the city manager's office. So there's been kind of some fellows working in different areas throughout the city. And I think so the kind of struggle with the policy research role is that it's really dependent upon what the commissioners are interested in advancing. And so you can do research that is very important and relevant to the community, but the commissioner might just decide that this is not the time to advance that item, that maybe there's not the political will for it, or they just don't think it's a good fit for Gainesville. And so it is quite common that our fellows will do really great work on these reports, but then unfortunately they don't advance through the policy process. We have had several reports advance through the policy process. So the Fare Free Bus Program for K-12 and 65 and older individuals for RTS came through our program. The Youth Services Department came through our program. We did some work similar to the work that Chris and Brandie do on like city-owned grocery stores to kind of share how that can be a possibility. So there have certainly been research that we've done that has been discussed by commissioners, and we have several that have become policy. But yeah, I would just highlight that especially for the policy research program, there is kind of that barrier of it's dependent upon the political will of the commission as to which of our projects are implemented as policy.
And from my standpoint, I think there are a ton of examples of fellows that have had tremendous impact in the community. I think one of the challenges are, and honestly, this isn't just true for a fellow, it's true for employees of the city, full-time employees. A hard reality of local government, sometimes it takes a long time to see things change. And so the time that you're in the fellowship may not be the time when the work that you've done has actually come through to see something massive change, but you'll start to see the trickle and the wheels turning in our commissioners and some signs of change happening. But then down the road, look back a few years later and you might see something that you've worked on actually come to fruition. I think Morgan herself is a great example of systemic change. I mean, I think that the work that she's been able to accomplish as the policy oversight coordinator within the city and implementing real processes to have research done in a really strategic fashion, and the way that it impacts workflow across staff at the city. I can just tell you that from a process standpoint, what Morgan as a fellow was able to start and now implement as an employee is tremendously beneficial for our community, for our staff, which is beneficial for the community because taxpayer dollars are going to more efficient processes. In another fashion, we had a fellow that was working with us in one of the earliest cohorts, who then went on to become a full-time employee and had a lot of work that he was doing in urban regional planning and transportation work, and actually helped to set up some of the programs around our First Mile, Last Mile initiative, which is a free micro-mobility transportation initiative that provides access to members of East Gainesville who tend to be lower income and without access to transportation. So again, there are really great things that our fellows have been able to start and accomplish. It just sometimes takes a little bit longer than the duration of the fellowship. But great question, Sophia.
Very good question. I will say from the Graham Center's point of view, in reading different students' journal entries, even Morgan's back in the day, they've all talked about how their projects have impacted them and how they perceive them to have impacted the Gainesville community. So I think that's a really interesting piece of this fellowship. You also get a full year to experience the time there, as others have mentioned. And I know that one thing our students have also enjoyed is many of them have stayed on, and you can see Morgan has come back and worked full time for the city. So I want to make sure I didn't miss any chat questions. Sorry, Matt, did you want to say, Dr. Jacobs, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to make 2 quick points if I could. One is a broad point about not just the Gainesville City Fellowship, but about local government, which is to say, local government has far more impact on your day-to-day life than any other level of government. And so implementing change or pursuing change or being engaged in the process at the local level is actually the space where you can have the greatest impact potentially, because it's local government that's dealing with garbage pickup. It's local government that's dealing with, fire services. It's local government that's dealing with community development in your neighborhood, right? So learning how to work with local government, work in local government, work through local government is really, really critical to improving people's lives at the local level. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention. The other thing, there were some questions popping up in the chat about the link to the application. I clicked on the link and it worked fine. I just want to make one other point here. So there could be a couple of possible explanations. I know Mary Ann was working on that, but I also want to welcome those of you from Santa Fe. I didn't specifically do that. There are some folks from Santa Fe on the call. Your contact also would be Sarah Blanc at Santa Fe, who is also partnering. And if you don't have her contact information, reach out to one of us and we can certainly get that to you as well, because she may also she has an application link for Santa Fe students as well. So Mary Ann.
All I wanted to say is that I have worked with that student offline, and it's definitely, I checked all our settings and refreshed. So it's definitely something on that end, but I've also provided a paper copy of the application if for some reason a student couldn't fill it out. But yes, Santa Fe students should fill out Sarah's and UF students should fill out ours. I think that'll be easiest for our teams.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? We have a few minutes left. It doesn't mean we have to take the whole time, but if there are any outstanding questions out there, we want to give you a chance to ask them. We will also share the recording, the application link, and the resources sometime tomorrow. Okay. Brandie, Morgan, Carissa, yes, Carissa's still there. Is there anything you all want to add?
I just wanted to thank everyone for being here with us today, for your thoughtful questions, and to the Bob Graham Center, thank you for hosting this and advertising this to the students. We really appreciate it.
Of course, and there is, sorry, 2 other questions just came in. Clara, I saw yours privately earlier, apologies. I would only submit 1, and I think your resume will speak for why 2 positions might make sense. And you'll be able to clarify that in the interview. I would not submit 2 separate resumes. And then as a Santa Fe student, no, you did not join the wrong call. Sorry, Tamika, we should have said it at the beginning or reminded folks later. We're really glad you were here. Thank you. Anything else?
Feel free to reach out if you have questions.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, feel free to reach out if you all have questions. Everyone's contact information should be included in the PowerPoint, and don't hesitate to send us an email.
And we will share that PowerPoint with everyone. Go ahead.
And then Clara, just to clarify your question, actually, when you fill out your application, you're going to be asked to indicate which position is your top priority position, and then which would be your second choice, because we recognize that some of our positions do have overlap in the skill set, and we want to be able to consider you for more than just one. So no need, as Mary Ann said, no need to submit 2 resumes, but do indicate if there are 2 positions that you're interested in, because in the interview process, you'll be asked questions for both. And that goes for all students, whether you're Santa Fe or University of Florida.
All right, thank you all so much. All right, we're going to stop
Thank
the
you.
recording and we'll send out all the information later.